Hello, everyone. It's Michael Jaco with Unleashing Intuition Secrets. Joined once again by Sherri Divband. She's got a new book out, Healing the Human-Animal Bond, Our Sacred Connection to the Animal Kingdom. Sherri, I guess I'm the first interview. Yay! I get to be the first.
Yay!
Thank you.
Well,
And it's already number one new release.
it is. I'm so excited in two categories. It's number one, top new release, bestseller. I'm so excited.
Very good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Your books have been, crushing it out there. Really, because people see that you're really giving some good information out there, and they love it.
Yes, thank you. I try to be as authentic as possible while keeping integrity. That's hard to do in this world.
Yeah, I'm glad you did the animal stuff. I think when we first kind of started talking several years ago, we were kind of talking a little bit more about the animals, and then we got into the beautiful soul children that were coming in. That's been great, but now we kind of circle back, and now we're bringing in the animals too. And what motivated you to do this book?
I love this question, Michael, because animals are what I always say, they saved my life because my childhood was challenging and I became really dark and recluse, and no one would recognize me how I am today than how I was before, when I was younger, due to a lot of traumas. I've talked about it in a lot of books. I've talked about it on your channel. But really what saved me was a dog that I had, Chelsea, a German Shepherd, when I was a young girl. And she was the one constant in my life. We moved a lot. I was bullied a lot. There was sexual trauma. There was a lot going on. And it really, the love that I had towards her, and really the unconditional love that she gave me, was nothing I had experienced from any human. I mean, even including my parents, which I love them dearly, but it's a different connection that I noticed from a really young age. So I ended up going into the animal sector of my career. I was an RVT for over 20 years. I worked in the zoo. I worked in the ICU. I did exotics. I did surgery. I did a lot of animal work. I did animal communication. And so when I stopped doing that to pivot to work with people, I felt this guilt for a long time. Like I felt like I was abandoning the animals. And my soul just kept telling me, Sherri, the animals will come back around. Stop having guilt. Just keep going. And now I look back and I'm like, man, if only we could see things more clearly in the moment. But that's exactly what happened. I'm circling back now, and I'm bringing it all together. So I work with adults, I work with children, and now I'm bringing back that knowledge of to the present and why it's relevant now. And I'm kind of recalling all of the 20 years in this book right here, and kind of honoring this, our sacred connection to animals. And to me, that seems so much more beautiful because now it's like a full circle.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, I think everybody can identify with pets. Throughout. I love all my dogs that I've had over my lifetime. It's just
Yeah.
such a shame that they're not with us longer. So talking points. So we're going to talk about soul contracts of animals. What do you? That's a deep subject right there. Soul contracts of animals, because we've heard of a lot of people that have passed over and have actually come back, and they'll see their animals, their pets on the other side, there to greet them when they come over, and they're like, they'll have some kind of soul guide that will tell them it's not your time, but we're going to like talk to you a little bit. You're going to see some things, and then you go back and you share with everybody. So that's pretty amazing. What do we have with the animals? What are our soul contracts with them?
Yeah, I think that it's really important to kind of discern the different levels of soul contracts, because I think that the kind of the overlaying misconception in reality is that they are beneath us. The souls of animals are working up the hierarchy, so to speak, to be evolved, to become us. And I knew from a young age that was not right. I knew it in my heart. I said, that can't be. How can my dog love me unconditionally and help me so much, and she's beneath me? That doesn't make any sense. So from a young age, I didn't connect with that. I didn't resonate with it. And so what I've learned throughout the years of working with animals in an ICU setting, at the zoo, and doing animal communication and animal healing sessions one-on-one, is that there are different levels of soul contracts they have with us. But the thing about it is, many, if not most, of the animals, I'm talking domestic right now, cats, dogs that we have at our home that we call pets. I don't use the word pets because I think it's a demeaning term. So I use the word the phrase animal companion.
Hmm.
So they come into our lives. We're going to ask me a question?
No, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were interrupting me. So the soul contracts are this. Generally, the animals come through as a member of our soul community, our soul network. We know them on a soul level, and a lot of the time they are ascended beings. They are here to come and help us and to guide us. So if I am going through a challenging period during my life, I will call upon a soul family member, somebody that I know on a spiritual level, on a soul level, that will come through and be in my life to support me, to give me unconditional love, to show me how to open my heart, how to trust again, how to work through abandonment, whatever it is that the person is working through. The animal will come in and support them because that soul has the capacity to do that, which is why they come in for a short period of a time. It's really difficult and challenging for these really high frequency evolved beings to come in a body, especially one that's so small, that's continuously oscillating and transmuting frequencies at such a high level that they are healing us. They're getting information for us. They're holding space for us. They take on our disease, which I'll talk about as well. They can't, their contracts are short term because they couldn't possibly stay in this dimension with us for very long. So they really just come in through periods of phases that we need them most. And they come from all over the galactics. Some of them are indigenous earth spirits. Some are interdimensional beings. So, and one really cool thing that I didn't know about until about 5 years ago, I learned in a session I was doing with somebody. She had this love for her animal that she couldn't describe. She said, "Sherri, I can't tell you the love that I feel for this animal. My heart hurts. I love them so much." And I've heard that before, but I could sense the genuine nature of this woman and what she was saying. Well, unbeknownst to me, when I did the session and I connected with her animal, the soul of her animal, it was a fractal of herself.
Wow.
And so she said she had chosen life, that she needed something tangible that she could touch, that she could love, that she could sleep with, and have this companion in a physical sense. That was the aspect of her that is an extension of her, that could be part of her to support her through her journey through some really challenging times. So she could sense the connection was so much stronger than any animal she had ever had, because in essence it was herself. So the animal was mirroring, honoring, healing, supporting this woman in a way that only a soul to soul could do. It was really beautiful. I had no idea. So there are a lot of different layers to it.
I had no idea it was so deep. This is amazing conversation. I always thought that plants, animals, humans, so they're kind of like an evolving type. So, but from what you're saying, some of these animals are even more evolved, perhaps, than humans are. And I have seen that sometimes. There are a lot of people who are like, they like their pets more than they like humans. And they even say it. I remember one time we were at a restaurant, coming out of a restaurant, and this woman was actually saying that while we're walking right behind her. I was like, wow, that's pretty intense. But that's understandable when you start to see animals on a larger scale, like you're talking about. Amazing.
I mean, that was me, Michael. I didn't trust people. I didn't like people for a very long time in my life. I'm telling you, I went through such a dark period that I didn't trust anybody. And to this day, to be honest, I definitely prefer the company of animals sometimes, just because they're just so pure. They don't have expectation. They don't have this ego. They cannot be controlled. They cannot be programmed. They're authentically who they are. And they are beautiful frequencies that hold space for us. And you can just be yourself with them and not feel judged, not feel like you're competing. It's a different vibration than most humans because we have ego. That's the only thing that separates us. It doesn't make us bad. It just makes it more challenging for our souls to navigate the human experience. Because on a soul level, we're all the same, right? They're no better than us. They just come in from a different perspective to help us through the ego, because the ego can be quite challenging at times. And we have 3D interference and other things that alter our frequency, alter our perception, and make it more challenging to navigate the emotions. So animals pull us out of the emotional state by healing us and helping us shift our frequency and our vibration to a more neutral perspective. And then we can see things more clearly.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So, somebody was saying that it's unconditional love from pets, that we often see that is true. But why do animals bite sometimes?
So good question. Because I get this question a lot when I have communication sessions with clients, and they'll say, I had this one woman who had a German Shepherd, and they were bonded, and the family, her and her husband had this shepherd, and then they had a baby, and the shepherd was very protective over this child. And all of a sudden, when the child was a couple of years old, he started to growl at this child from the other side of the room, and he would watch while this child was playing, while this little boy was playing in the living room, and would watch and watch and watch. And it got the attention of the parents. Why is this dog suddenly growling at our child? This is super weird. But he wouldn't really growl at him. He growled towards him. Well, it started to progress to the point where the child would then run around the room pretending to be an airplane, or whatever children do, just running around, and the dog nipped towards him another time. And that was the second strike. The third strike was another time the child was running around. The dog actually jumped over. In hindsight, now they realize he jumped over them. They thought he jumped at him and knocked him down and then went beyond him. So at that point, they took the dog out of the home, and the neighbor was watching them. They contacted me in a panic. They wouldn't let the dog back in the house. What I saw, what the soul of the dog showed me, was that this child, because it's so high vibrational, no one realized that he was opening vortexes with his frequency. So as he was opening these vortexes in the living room, entities started to come through. And so the dog was watching in the beginning from far, watching entities come through a portal that no one else could see. And he was growling at them to warn them. That was number one. Number two, which worked, it seemed like, for a while. Number two, when the child was running around, there was an entity trying to attach to him. He tried to attack or go after the entity, well, not the child. The third time, there was a black widow being behind the child, following him, and he jumped over trying to get to this black widow being and knocked the kid over. Never did he bite the child, never did he actually hurt him, but he scared everybody. So that was a really interesting session, because we learned a lot about entities and what animals can see that we cannot. And this is very common. Now, when animals do end up biting, there's several reasons. One, there is an entity attachment, and 9 times out of 10, when I have a session like that, the animal is going after the entity that is connected to the person. They are literally attacking the entity. Sometimes the entity can overlap over, and the dog thinks it's actually attacking an entity that has shape-shifted, and it's imprinted in front of the person, but then they don't realize, the dog doesn't realize in the moment that he's going after the person. So they're going after an entity attachment. And another one is we can talk about breed specifics, but sometimes they're innate, no matter how evolved a soul is. And I think many can attest to this, even in the human form. It doesn't matter where you come from, how old your soul is. When you incarnate as a certain being, you're going to take on the physiological, psychological, and innate primal traits of that being. No matter what, you have to navigate that when you come into that. So there are some dogs that have some souls that when they go in and integrate with an animal, they struggle trying to integrate and resist the primal nature. So when a dog sees a child running, they're sometimes they get this primal instinct, that's prey, I need to go chase it. And they're playing, but then they could hurt the child. So sometimes if the child has a disruptive field, or a person has a disruptive field, just because of whatever reason, maybe they've had a stressful week, they have a lot of anxiety, their auric field is disruptive and disoriented, and it's not conducive for the animal, they don't feel safe, then they will attack because they don't trust the person. So there you can see there is no one answer for everything. And that's why I wrote the book, because I want to raise awareness that there is not just one explanation for everything. There are a lot of factors to look into here, and there's a lot more at play than people realize. It's not just dog, person. It's the energy, it's entities around, it's frequencies, it's the primal instinct of the breed that they've chosen to come into. There's so many factors that are involved.
Wow. So there's so much involved here. Wow. I never really thought of it on this great of a level. And we know that in healing, there are dog breeds that basically can see, because dogs have a larger band of seeing than we do, frequency seeing. Same thing with hearing. That's why their hearing so sharp. They key on stuff we don't hear yet. But same thing with the sight. So it doesn't surprise me that they're seeing these other beings and around us. That's incredible. So you start to have more appreciation for pets, or not pets, but the animals that are around us, of course. So do animals take our disease, and
So
do they help heal?
yeah, that's the big one. This is the one that it's true to my heart, and I'm going to tell you why. When I started doing animal communication, I was working in the ICU, and I learned Reiki because I wanted to help heal animals when they were in. I mean, I was helping animals on ventilators. I was placing chest tubes. I was seeing animals at their absolute worst that were not even consciously aware of where they were. At the time, I didn't connect to them as much as I do now. So I understand things so much more now than I did at that time. But I thought there could be a better way to heal and connect with them. So I learned Reiki at that time. I started doing animal communication, and I had a side business where I would go to people's homes around the time I started working at the zoo. So everything kind of overlapped. And I started doing communication sessions and healing sessions. And what I learned in that, I would have never thought, I would have never predicted. Almost every single time someone contacted me because their animal had some sort of chronic or acute health condition, behavioral issue, anxiety, whatever it may be. When I contacted them, they would tell me, the soul would tell me, my mom, my dad, the children, or someone in the home is suffering from this, and I'm taking it on for them, or I am mirroring their anger, their frustration. I'm here to teach them something. I'm here to support them through something. So they're taking on the personality of their companion, or their human companion or counterpart, and or they take on illness. I had a session once with a woman years later. She had 3 dachshunds. She was on her 4th. And she was contacting me because 3 of her dachshunds died of some sort of heart or lung issue. 3 in a row. Different breed, same breed, but different breeders. So it wasn't in the genetic line for this particular dachshund. This woman was a chronic smoker, had COPD, and the dogs were her everything. Her children, her companion. I mean, they were her life. But they kept dying. And she adopted another one, and it was relatively young, and she was afraid that the same thing would happen. And she contacted me for a session. I don't want this one to die. What do I do? Long story short, these dachshunds were coming into her life to open up her heart because in a lot of past lives, and including this one, she was dealing with abandonment and lack of self-worth. So she was subconsciously killing herself by smoking much that it was closing up her heart. Our heart chakra is connected to the lungs and the heart. So she was doing everything to put a barrier around herself because she didn't feel worthy. She didn't want love. She wanted love, surface level, but she was blocking it at the same time. She didn't feel she deserved it. So these poor toxins kept coming into her life, and they were trying to open up her heart, give her love, take on her disease, and they would die from the disease because they would take it from her, but then she would just keep it going, and it kept going and going. It was a cycle. Well, this last one said, it stops with me. And please tell her that if she doesn't take care of herself, if she does not address this, I'm going to do the same. Because animals are so selfless. They look at their life as a short-term contract. They don't mind taking on your cancer, your heart disease, or whatever, because they know the bigger picture. They're sacrificing one body. Their soul doesn't get traumatized from it because they're not attached to the situation. So they'll selflessly take on the disease of their companion, their human companion, to help them live. Because a lot of us have work to do, and we are not supposed to die of these things. But due to 3D interference, programming, manipulation, all of the things, we don't take care of ourselves, and we get off track, and the animals come in and help us come on track. So we had a real breakthrough in that session, and she contacted me almost a year later and said, Sherri, you saved my life. I'm fully healthy. I no longer smoke. I really don't have COPD anymore. I changed everything, and my dachshund is fully healthy and thriving. And it made me so happy because the dachshund finally the soul was finally able to relay the message. This is about you. So when I was working with animals over these years, I realized that they really do come in and they take on our illness. That's just one example of hundreds I can give you of working with clients. And so what I ended up doing, and why I work with people now, for the most part, and children, why I veered past, was because the animals told me, Sherri, they're the ones that need the healing. No, we don't. We're here as support staff. We're here as their loving companions, but we need help. Can you help us by helping them? And that's when I started working with people, because remember, I hated people. They didn't deserve my help in my mind, right? But the animals were the ones that made me see why. If they're like, Sherri, if you suffered so much in your life by being molested, by being kidnapped, by being bullied left and right, by being hurt by all these people, and you're this way, why do you think everyone else in this world who is struggling, who might have a big ego, that might be arrogant, that might be a jerk, might be an awful person, why do you think they are the way they are? Don't you want to help them get better? And yeah, of course I do. So it's incredible. It's beyond what we could believe that they are able to help us with.
Wow, that's amazing. So where was it that you started to do the communication with animals on the level where you're definitely communicating? Is it telepathic? How does it work?
That's the thing that's what I wrote about in my book. I think the biggest misconception of communicating with animals is people truly believe that it's done like Dr. Dolittle. I don't know how. I mean, I'm older than some of the people that I work with. They don't know Dr. Dolittle anymore, but it's a movie where the guy communicated with animals face to face, like they would literally talk to each other. And I think it put the stigma out there that that's how you talk to animals. So you sit face to face and you literally have a conversation. And that can't be farthest from the truth. The best way I communicate with animals is I'm not even in the same room. If I want to communicate with one of my animals, I'm sometimes upstairs and they're downstairs sleeping. I'm communicating with their soul. So you bypass the body. If you try to connect with your dog that's sitting there panting, they're licking your face. They're in the body in the moment. You're not gonna. It's gonna get lost in translation. There's too many distractions. So what I do is I bypass the body, just like if I work with a client over Zoom. I'm not talking to Michael. I'm bypassing Michael and I'm going to the higher self of Michael, because that's where the clear information comes through. So it same goes with animals. I communicate with the soul of the animal telepathically, and I receive the information through downloads, direct information, visions, in a lot of different ways. And most people don't realize they're communicating with their animal every single day, 100% across the board. Everybody does it. They just don't realize it, because a lot of times it comes through as our thoughts. So our animals are sending us messages constantly, but we are perceiving it as we're just thinking, or, oh, what a great idea. You think that you're thinking it, but really they're merging with your consciousness in a way, and they're talking to you, and they'll find creative ways to get your attention through signs, synchronicities, or through your thoughts.
Wow, that's incredible. So different breeds. I know I'm attracted to certain breeds, and other people are attracted to the different breeds. And it's funny you talk about, animals take on your health issues or whatever. You start to see over time that animals and humans start to look the same.
They really do. Yeah.
So which breeds do you pick? Do you just kind of determine what you're attracted to, or what should you be looking for?
Okay, so this is a fun subject. Again, there's never one answer. So just when you think you have an answer, that's only one. That's only one example. So a couple of things. It's really up to us, right? Well, that's not true. Let's start with that. Let's talk about your conditions in your life. Can you have a large dog? Can you have a small dog? Maybe you can't have a dog. Maybe you can only have a cat. Maybe you can only have an exotic animal, like a small, let's say a fish, whatever it may be. So a lot of times the soul of the animal the soul that's going to come in as an animal will come through what is best suited for you based on what you desire, because it's more in alignment with your lifestyle and what you can take on. That's number one. So a lot of times they will choose that. But there are others that have soul contracts with people that they just keep coming back in. So they prefer to come in as the same animal. So I have a Sphinx cat, and I'm on my second of the same soul. And I know that for the rest of my life, I will have Sphinx one after another. And I know this soul will keep popping in the same breed. He always wants to be male. He's already told me all of that. So if we don't know that, if someone listening to this doesn't know, you will know, and you'll just have an intuition. I want to get this. It has to be a female, and I'll name her this. You just know. It's just one of those things that can't be denied. So there's a give and take with what they're willing to come in as. And it's very interesting. I get this question a lot. what about adoptions? So let's say I start with an animal and a couple of years later, it goes to someone else because I can't care for it anymore. And then maybe even 5 years later, it goes to another animal. Is it the same soul in every single circumstance? Do all of these souls know each other? Yes and no. If it's in the same family, then the animal is the soul contract of the animal has many parts. Maybe it's going to be with me, and then it's going to be with my son, and then maybe it's going to be with my daughter, and maybe they don't live here. Maybe they do. So it could be designed in that way. But when you're talking about situations where there is adoption to a completely unknown family, they have what we call walk-ins and souls. So I don't know if your audience is familiar with that, but they're a little bit different. So animals, because of their frequency, they can do it like you mentioned. They have a bigger bandwidth of potential with their senses. They also have a much bigger bandwidth of potential with their ability as a soul to raise in frequency and to do a lot of really cool things. One of which is to pop out of their body. So a lot of animals, this is very controversial. And again, I want to explain it more, but in cases of animal abuse or end of life, a lot of times the animals aren't the soul. The body is suffering. The soul of the animal is not in the moment. A lot of times they're out of the body. They have the ability to pop in and out of the body. So in this situation where, let's say I take on an animal, the soul of that animal is contracted to me for those years. And if I can't care for that animal anymore, that animal that goes to the next person, the soul connected to that person will pop in. I'll give you a really good example. I had a session once with somebody who got an animal, a companion animal for his mother. Her husband had died. She was lonely and he wanted to give her a companion. It was a small dog. So he adopted from a man who was going to leave the country, couldn't keep the dog anymore. So it was a great connection. So the mom took the dog, had it for 2 years. They were best friends. Unfortunately, his mother ended up dying. She got sick. And in this case, instead of the dog taking on her illness, because sometimes they don't, because it's our lesson or our soul's wish. So again, there's always layers to it. So the dog was left with the son now. Mom had passed. He didn't know what to do with this dog. He felt guilty. I don't want to give it away because that was my mom's baby, but I can't keep this dog. A neighbor said, I'll take the dog. Well, when I connected to the soul of this animal, I will tell you, Michael, it wasn't even the soul of the one that was in with the mom. It was the soul of the new owner, the new mom's connection. It was another soul and said, oh, my name is so-and-so. And I'm supposed to be with that lady now. Can you tell him that the soul of the other one has already left and it's okay to let go because it's my turn now. It's her turn to have me now. And I was like, what? Like, these are things that I didn't even know could happen. And I learn them as I go. And I'm like, am I like going nutty? Am I crazy? But obviously I see these things a lot now. So it's normal to me. But that's how it works. So they pop in. There are placeholder souls that will be in like litters of puppies or kittens. They'll be in there kind of holding space. Generally, they're earth spirits or angelic spirits, and they'll just be in the body, keeping the life force until the souls are assigned to the animal that goes with the family. It's very complicated, yet very simple at the same time.
Yeah, that's amazing. Wow. So many different layers of this. It's incredible. So 3D interference, EMFs, diet, allergies, vaccines, animals, and rituals.
There's a dark side too, Michael.
Yep.
I've been on your channel a bunch of times now. I can't even count. Thank you, by the way, for having me so much. In my previous books, I've talked about 3D interference. And for those of you that haven't heard it explained that way, or the way I've talked about it, is simply just the plethora of ways that we are suppressed, controlled, manipulated, programmed. So the ones that you mentioned are the obvious ones, through diet, through sky art, through environment, through EMFs. So all of those things, allergies, all of those things, the animals are susceptible as well, unfortunately. Not because the souls aren't evolved, but over time, the bodies of these animals, just like the human body, the animals themselves, the cats, the dogs, wildlife, which we haven't even talked about wildlife yet, they're different. They unfortunately become bombarded with EMFs, voice to skull technology, black box technology. Remind me to tell you a story about a cat and black box technology. So they are susceptible like we are, unfortunately. And if they're holding space for us, and they're taking on a lot of our traumas and emotions, and their body is essentially a conduit consistently, unfortunately, they're just going to be more susceptible than ever before with regard to 3D interference. And so one of the 3D interference that I talked about is animal rituals. So this is going to be dark for a second, but one of the what I call the dark players, which is just the beings at large that are part of the 3D interference. It could be Cabal, it could be Illuminati, it could be the 700 layers above them that we don't know about, and the ones that aren't even human, and everything in between. They know our sacred connection to animals, which is why they've been trying to sever it for many, many thousands of years. And I talked about this chapter because it's important that we know that they appreciate to some level what animals can do for us and how they assist us and how they help us heal. They don't like that. So they have created allergies where we are allergic to animals by putting certain things in the vaccinations and certain things that they emit in the air. They are creating the allergies that we have towards animals.
Wow.
So we can't have them. That's number one. But number two, they create a stigma towards a lot of animals on purpose so that we are afraid of them. I'll give you the easiest example. The goat. Everyone, if you think about the goat, everyone says, oh, that's Satan, the hoofed man, beast, half human, so they really imprinted the goat as their symbolism, right? Which the goat it symbolizes freedom, rebirth, the supernatural, our connection, metaphysical, interdimensional connections. They're very spiritual beings. So if they can sabotage that for us and sever that connection and make us fear goats, then we won't want to connect with goats that could help us with infertility, with so many different things, prosperity. Taking it one step further, these are one of the things that bother me most is our word spells. They call our children kids because goats, when they're babies, they're called kids. So what are they calling our children? Children of Satan. So they have us so manipulated that we're calling our children kids, and we're basically saying, yeah, my kid is a child of Satan. We don't even realize when we use those words.
Wow. Oh my God, I never heard this before. That's crazy.
It's so convoluted, Michael. It makes me so frustrated. That's why I'm writing the book. It's black cats, another one. A lot of cats are from Lyra, but not all. I even have a chapter that says not all cats are from Lyra. Cats are very interdimensional, very metaphysical. They do so much to heal us, but in the etherical, in the astral realm. They open portals. They block portals. They do so many things, right? So why do they do witchcraft and sacrifice with black cats? Because they know that the black cats can open the portal. So they're using the black cats. And again, they're making us afraid of them. So those are just two examples of animals and rituals. So my suggestion in my book is not just to say what all of this is. We take the power back by not complying. So I try not to use the word kids ever. I don't use the word pets. We shift our fear and our mindset about certain breeds so that we don't buy into it. We don't fuel the fire that they're creating.
Yeah. So I think you answered the black cat thing. So,
that was okay. Have you heard? I think I've talked about this on your channel, Blackbox technology, or black mirror portals, right? Okay. So Blackbox technology is basically any black box, your computer screen, your phone, your TV, anything in your home, even mirrors. They are portals, and they use technology, especially with the electronics. So less about the mirrors. That's a different type of portal, but the technology have portals in it that you can open, invoke these portals unknowingly while watching scary movies, whatever you're watching on it. If it's lowering your vibration or causing fear, anxiety, suspense, you inadvertently activate the portals, beings come in. So this one woman contacted me. She had a black and white, long-haired, domestic long hair is what we would call them. But his name was Tux because he was black and white. And all of a sudden, this cat was sitting on there in between the big flat screen TV and the wall, and there was a table, and he would sit in between or in front of the couch staring, and he would not leave the side of this TV. He would not leave the TV. At night, he would sleep there, and this was odd behavior for the cat. So they contacted me, and she said, what's going on with my cat? He's acting super strange. He growls at the TV. He goes like this, and he's like trying to get scratch at the TV. They're mad because they don't want him to scratch the TV, so they're going like this to get him to go away. Well, as soon as I connected with Tux, he was showing me scary movies on the TV, and I looked at her. I asked her. I said, Are you watching scary movies on the TV suddenly?" And she goes, "Well, yeah. My husband just started a marathon on like old school '80s classic scary movies. All those Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, like
You know
all of
that
those,
movie
right?"
Poltergeist where the little girl goes up to the TV, you know?
Yeah, so they were watching like a marathon for the last couple, like every week. So like it had been going on for like a month or so. Well, they had activated a portal in their home and mad entities were coming through. And this cat was standing its ground and blocking them and working tirelessly to get them out of their house. And so after the session, they stopped watching per my suggestion. I said, "I'm not telling you what to do, but just try not watching it. Turn the TV off. Do not consent. Clear your energy and stand your ground and thank your cat for, secondly, for helping you and see if things change." And she contacted me. She's like, "The cat is back sleeping in the bed, doesn't even care about the TV, and he's a completely different cat." And she's like, "It worked." And I said, "There you go." They can sense the black box technology and they know there's portals in the TVs.
Wow, that's incredible. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you're going to start looking at your, the animals around you a little differently now. I
Right.
definitely will be, with a lot more respect. Absolutely. So we're looking at animal reincarnation. They reincarnate with us over and over again.
Yeah. They're doing it now more than ever before. I think before it was a more rare thing because I don't think they needed to. But because we've expedited this ascension and so many people are more active and awake and we need more, and because the dark side has amped up their strategies, they're really coming in a lot more to guide us and support us. So I'm seeing a lot more in reincarnation than I've ever seen, where animals will leave and I'm like, "Don't worry." I actually have a friend that was a client, as a friend. Her cat died a couple days ago from a heart attack out of nowhere. 3-year-old cat. She's calling me in the middle of the night. Obviously, I didn't see it till the next day. She left a voice memo just beside herself.
Hmm.
She couldn't, like, what happened to him? So I quickly connected with him, and long story short, he was an interdimensional being, and he was traveling through all these dimensions, doing certain work, and he basically got trapped. And as cats do, they're so interdimensional, and he was doing his work and did it a little too well, and he severed the life force of the animal he was in. Gone like a heart attack, just like that, gone. He's like, "It was an accident. I didn't really mean it." And he said, he told me 3 to 6 months, "Don't worry, I'll be back." He's like, "I'm coming back in." So they're all accidental deaths. Sometimes things do happen that aren't nefarious. They're not taking on our disease. It's just like whoopsies, that, I made a mistake. So
That's crazy. Oh my God. So, spirit animals, animal totems, and symbolism. We've seen a lot of that over the years. Of course, Egypt, they have cats like crazy on their walls and everything. And you see the leopards and so forth that go through the nobility. They have the leopards, throughout all nobility, throughout all the world. So, what is it about all of these, animal totem symbolism, spirit animals, and so forth?
I think, Michael, our ancestors and ancient ancestors knew the spiritual significance and the connection and our relationship with animals at large. We didn't have pets, and this is actually one of the only planets that I've connected to, like civilizations, I should say, where we even have pets, because most places are so high vibrational that they don't need an animal companion in the way that we do. They don't need an animal to sleep in the bed with them, or to cuddle with, or to sit on the couch and watch a movie. They don't need that. There's a sympathetic, what's not sympathetic? Is that the word I'm thinking of? There's a beautiful synchronistic relationship, symbiotic. That's the word that they have, and respect for one another and their contributions, their roles. So the fact that we even have these animals here is one thing, as domesticated animal companions. But the spirits of the animals all have their own significance and their own, what they do to guide us. And our ancestors knew about that. So I put in there the spiritual significance of, horses, a lot of different animals, to let us know that they're here to protect us and to support us. So if we have a liking to a certain animal, when I was in 6th grade, I became obsessed with elephants. Didn't know why. Someone gave me a gift, and something turned on in my mind, And I was like, I'm obsessed with elephants. To this day, I'm 43 years old. I probably have hundreds of knickknacks in boxes. They're all over my house. I have 2 tattoos. I'm obsessed with them to this day. Well, I know now that they're my animal spirit. They're one of my protectors. And the cool thing about elephants, Michael, is that there are certain sacred species. Going to wildlife for a second. There are sacred species guarding this planet. So we have the sacred species of the sea, which are dolphins and whales, which don't even really come from here. A lot of them come from Sirius B, and a lot of them come from other universes and other places. Just like a lot of the cats come from Lyra, but not all of them. The guardians of the land are horses and elephants. So if you think about elephant tusks for a second, why do you think the tusks of animals are so regarded and so valuable for the elephants? Because the tusks hold spiritual encoded data from the ancestors, but also the Akashic records of of what has happened in our history on this planet in the 3rd dimension and higher. So, and higher, not just the 3rd dimension. So there are keepers and guardians of elephants, which are are usually native indigenous people to located near where the elephants are, whether they're in Asia or in Africa. And the crazy thing is, they only have the capacity to read the Akashic records, and they don't even know until they're activated one day. At some point in the future, the souls of those keepers will be able to read it, but they don't even know about it consciously right now. So they're poached for these, and unfortunately, and killed because the dark players know that they hold really important information, so they hoard it for themselves, and they don't know how to read it. Just like a Lemurian crystal. Not anyone can just pick up a Lemurian crystal and look at it and be able to read it and download the information. A Lemurian can. So why do other people collect them? The dark ones, not the light ones. Because they're like, well, at some point, I'm going to find someone to decode this for me. Or they have their reasons for having it. So unfortunately, these animals are being poached for certain reasons because they're trying to access knowledge. The dark side doesn't have the ability to create. And a lot of times their distortion of knowledge prohibits them from seeing the truth, just from seeing things from a higher reality and perspective. So, fun fact about elephants.
Do you think our ancestors were more? I think you alluded to that, or more connected to the animal kingdoms than we are now. They understood their power more than we do now.
Absolutely, and I think, Michael, I believe we all signed up for things. I think I signed up for all the trauma I went through as a child, all the bad things that happened to me. I've healed most of that, and the animals helped me through that because I believe I have a soul contract with them so that I could be part of the change. It's my intention in writing this book and working with clients and working with animals and having my own animals to relay the message, to help people understand the different layers. And that's why I call the book Healing the Human Animal Bond. Why does it need healing? Because of all the things I just mentioned. Our connection has been fractured. Some of it against our will. We don't even realize it, but we don't realize all the things that we've been programmed to believe. And I just shared some of them with you guys today. So the more we know, right? And we can expand our perception. And I didn't even put everything in there. You know why? Because I don't even know everything. I only know, and I only wrote here what I know, what I've learned, what I can share to play my role in just a small part in the collective shift in healing that bond so that we can authentically have this sacred connection with the animal kingdom that I don't believe has been severed. I just believe it's been fractured. And we have every ability to repair that bond and heal it. And it starts with our intention and what we want as a collective. Like, what do we believe? What do we want? We can create that.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, I've never heard anyone speak so deeply about the animal kingdom like you are right now. This is absolutely incredible. So do you think that your spirit animal, so not everybody knows their spirit animal, but you can meditate and you can find your spirit animal. And I've meditated and found mine. And I used to lead meditations for people to find theirs. Do you think your spirit animal can manifest in some ways in the physical?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I apologize. I kind of skipped over that. So there's a difference between spirit animals and spirit totems. Animal totems. Animal totems are generally, they come into your life in a astral way, to support you in some way that you need in that moment. Whether the easiest example would be an eagle comes into your life as an animal totem to help you have a higher perspective on the situation you're navigating through in the moment. Or a dolphin will be your spirit, your animal totem, because you're too serious. And they want you to be a little bit more lighthearted, more childlike. Enjoy yourself right now. You're too serious during this period. So they come in for short durations. And the way you know that they're there is because you'll have an acute fascination with them. You'll see them a lot, whether in dreams, or maybe you live in the ocean and you see dolphins all the time and no one else sees them, or they're in movies that you seem to be attracted to and dolphins keep being brought up, or you'll see ads with dolphins. They'll find their way to get into your consciousness. You'll see them. Or if it's a type of bird, you'll always see these butterflies or these cardinals outside. So they try to get your attention, and sometimes in the physical if they can, but not always. If it's a polar bear, you're not going to see a polar bear in your neighborhood. So they'll find another way to connect with you. Some of us have no idea and are completely oblivious that we have so much help. But that does not mean that they're not there. It just means that we're not consciously aware. But on a soul level, we're so grateful for their guidance. Another thing is a spirit animal. And spirit animals tend to be with us for the long haul in our life, for the long term. Elephants are my spirit animals. So they are with me. They're bringing out the loving matriarch do for me. And I need that my whole life because of the work that I do, working with children and psychic children, and my work with education and my work with animals. I needed that. I needed that perseverance, that beautiful energy to carry me through the challenging times. So spirit animals tend to be with you long term. And those are the ones you tend to be fascinated. You're obsessed. I'm obsessed with bears. I'm obsessed with this. I'm obsessed with that. You generally know who your long-term spirit animal is because you tend to be obsessed and you are really in love with them. But there are things you can do meditation-wise to connect. I always tell people, close your eyes, ask them to come, and they will find you. In your dreams, you will know if you ask. They're always there, or you'll see them if it's possible, if they can show themselves to you. So there are different levels of spirit animals versus animal totems. They kind of have different purposes.
Wow, that's incredible. So my own experience, I was walking the Pacific Crest Trail. So my spirit animal at the time was a black panther, and I'm walking this Pacific Crest Trail, and I'm in the mountains, and I had my head down because there's a lot of rocks, so I didn't want to twist my ankle, and I heard this roar like that, and I looked up and I saw the bushes on the right side. So there's like a incline and then a decline. And I saw the bushes on the decline, shaking like something big had gone through. And so I did a remote view, and I saw that my spirit animal had chased away a cougar that was getting ready to pounce on me.
Wow.
And then I got to the next town, and they talked about how they had basically killed a cougar that had attacked some people earlier. And I was like, whoa, that was real. So yeah, this a lot of people are like, oh, that's just mumbo jumbo, but you'll start to see this stuff manifest, like I did. So that's pretty amazing on a lot of different levels where this spiritual realm is real, and I love the cat was in front of the TV, making sure that the evil spirits didn't come through.
Can I give you an example of a kind of another question I get are, do animals experience traumas in the same way you do? And so the answer is yes and no. So I had a session with a woman a couple, they had a Great Dane, and they raised this Great Dane from a puppy, which I love Danes. And he was always very uncomfortable around bicycles. And it got to a point where every single time a bicycle would go past their house, he would lose it. I mean, go crazy. Right? It was bikes. They contacted me and they said, I'm worried that my Dane's going to jump the fence one day. He hasn't yet, but what if he does? Is he going to attack these people? What's going to happen? Well, it come to find out, this dog had a lifetime with one of the owners in a war period. and this Dane, and I was seeing a battle and fire, gunshots, and all of these things were happening. And I can't remember in this case if it was a horse or not, but the Dane was recalling the horses, the buggies that were coming through meant danger, and they were being attacked by them. And I can't remember if he was a horse or another dog in that life. I can't remember what he was. But the point is that he was recalling in this life that the bikes were these buggies, these big wheels that were coming, and they meant danger. Danger's coming, and he was trying to let his family know they're coming to get you. They're coming to get us. We got to do something. We got to get ready to fight. And I was like, oh my gosh, I get this, but how are we going to figure this out? What do I tell them? You know, I had to get creative. So what I ended up doing is explaining it to them, and they felt terrible because they were yelling at him. And I'm like, do not feel bad. Animals don't, you know, their feelings don't get hurt in the ways we do. We think they do anyways. But what I ended up doing is I had them get a bike, and I said, put your wife on it. And I want you to have your wife take the bike in and just bring it in the yard and not get on it. And basically what happened is she worked up to the point where the dad would walk the Dane next to the wife walking with the bike. And eventually they got to a point where he could ride. She rode the bike next to them. And they worked through his fear of bikes, and he realized that bikes weren't bad. Then they started bringing other people around with bikes. And eventually the old fear was overlap. What's the word I'm trying to think of? We replaced one fear with a positive memory. So the recall didn't go backwards. It went to happy memories. Look, my mom loves her bike, and we're happy and everything is good. And he stopped doing that. It took a little bit of time.
Wow. Incredible. Calling on the animal kingdom. We've seen, the Tarzan movies where he's like, oh, and all the animals come running and help him out. No, I have past life memories of being a Nubian, which is a black man in Africa, working for the Egyptians in wars. And I remember we would be with the lions. We would hang out with them. We would hunt with them. We would sleep with them. We'd be with them, and then they would come with us in battle. They would come, and we would have battles, and they would fight alongside of us. So, what are it sounds like you're talking about some of this, because we see horses that are in battle all the time, throughout history and so forth. What do you see with the animal kingdom, calling them in different, not necessarily just for war, but for other reasons?
Well, so in this example in the book, what I am guiding people to do is to call upon the animal kingdom to protect you, because on an astral level, on a spirit level, we have access to way more protection than we are aware of, and people do not know how protective animals can be for us. And I'll give you an example of how I know this. Years ago, when I lived back in Maryland before I moved to Florida, I was attacked like I have never been before psychically by a mentor at the time who I trusted, who turned out to be doing witchcraft on me. And it took me a very long time to clear myself of this woman. It's a long, brutal story. But one night I was being attacked, and I was at my wit's end by this woman. It was the middle of the night. During that time, I still slept with Aramis, my daughter, because she had night terrors. So we slept together in a bed, and I was being attacked. And I hear wolves, like a scary sounding wolf, not the pleasant kind. And they were attacking me, and I heard her laughing at me. And I was crying because I did everything I knew how to do, and nothing was working. And I didn't want anyone to know, because I was embarrassed. So I didn't really want to tell my husband. And I didn't want my daughter to have any idea that I was scared in that moment, because I'm supposed to be her protector, sleeping in her bed to keep her safe. So in my moment of the most weakness, I surrendered, and I heard this voice, and it said, call on the animal kingdom, Sherri. And I just knew immediately what that meant and how to do it. I never did it before. So I said, I call upon the animal kingdom and to protect me in all dimensions, time, and space. And as soon as I said that, and it's all I said, I heard, and I'm getting goosebumps all these years later just thinking about it, because it was so profound. All of a sudden, my house, I could hear elephants jumping. I heard lions roaring. I heard zebras. I heard horses. I heard dogs barking. I heard monkey sounds in the trees. I knew there was animals under my house, burrowing animals. In the sky, there were dragons. There were ravens. There were eagles, hawks. my house was surrounded in and out. And
Mm.
it took probably 30 seconds or less. I heard a screeching sound from this woman, and she was gone, and she never came back. And this was 3 months of torture. And it took me 30 seconds to get rid of her. And that's how powerful. And I was like, man, I wish I knew about this before today. So I have been calling on the animal kingdom ever since. And like I said, I work a lot with children. I do sessions with children and adults, and mostly with children. I instruct parents to call on help them learn to call on the animal kingdom, or I coach them to protect them at night, because children are attacked a lot in the astral through dream state by dark entities, and that's a whole other conversation. So when you call on the animal kingdom, they'll stay with the child during sleep time, so that they are protected and safe. So we have the ability, the capacity to call on the animal kingdom to protect ourselves anytime that we need them. And I share that in this book. Anybody can do it.
So how do you think the like Jumanji, and somebody's had it in the chat, so it made me think about it. But how do you think all these other movies and Tarzan and all that, how do you think that represents for the animal kingdom? Is that a positive, or helping people understand there's much more out there? Or go ahead.
Sorry. I just think it's layered, Michael. I think that it can go either way. I think that when we think we know something, we don't know the full story. And there are so many positives, but just like there are positive beings, there are always negative beings. And there are lower astral animal spirits as well. Like I said, I heard the scary wolves that were they had red eyes, and they were really mean and scary. So there are also lower astral animals in the animal kingdom, just like we have. Just like there are fallen angels, and there are the angelics. So you just want to be, and who's interpreting these movies, and what do they want us to believe is the other thing. So we have beautiful movies depictions, and we have those that try to scare us. So when you're calling on the animal kingdom, just like with anything else, you always say, I call upon the animal kingdom that is of the highest frequency, that is only here to protect me for my highest good and my family's highest good. And that's how I do it. And that way I ensure that any animals coming into my life metaphysically or in the physical sense are here for my highest good only.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So you have several books out now, and you have a children's book series. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
Yeah, I have 5 books out. I can't even believe that. I think my first 2 were earlier versions of me, so less mature, less knowledgeable. But I think that goes with the territory. But the last 3 are really my passion project. So Starseeds and the Great Awakening was my book about 3D interference, and really like what's going on with the dark players. The one on the bottom right is Starseeds and the Great Awakening. So that one is probably my favorite book that I've ever written. I put all of myself into that book. I talked about my sexual abuse, kidnapping. I mean, I said everything in that one. I didn't hold back. The next book after that, Courage to Change, is my 4th book from last summer. And that one is an extension. It's part of a part 2, but it also teaches you how to protect yourself, how to heal. And again, I love that book for different reasons, because I really shared with everybody all of my techniques that I do to protect myself and my clients. And then this book this year, like I said, this book is honoring animals. And I have 10 children's books as well. Yeah, and I have an animation series, but I haven't done anything in a long time, so they're pretty old at this point, but they're on YouTube. You can find me on YouTube as well.
Is this your books, Divinely Guided Children?
Yeah,
Wow.
it's a series. So they're all called Divinely Guided Children, and each one is about something different. Like that one's about spirit animals. That's funny you brought that one up. That one's teaching children about spirit animals and how they can protect us. And I have ones on, superpowers and mindfulness and energy and all sorts of things.
That's incredible. Yeah. So lots of ways that people can, check out your work and find out more about you. That's great. And then, of course, you have your website too. Tell us about your website.
I have 2. So my main one is sherridivband.com. So if anyone wants to have a session with me, I don't have a lot of sessions left. Actually, so I want to plug myself, but I don't. I'm going to stop doing sessions probably in September of this year, because I'm focusing solely on children and opening our first school in Florida. So right now I have a handful of sessions left. I think my first is in July and August. So I have some sessions left, but I'm really going to focus opening up our first education center, the Aramis Creative Learning Center in Florida, hopefully by the end of this year, if not early next year. So that is my focus at the end of this year.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, good luck, Sherri, and great job on all your books and all your work. You're really revealing a lot of great stuff. So I thank you very much.
Oh, thank you for having me on again, Michael. I really appreciate it.
Yes, and thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll see you guys next time.